Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so as news drops, you know I'm gonna be thirsty. I mean, thirsty to turn on the camera and talk about it because there's literally nothing to talk about at all in the NBA. Kevin Durant. They've given us a little bit of news in regards to Kevin Durant, something to mull over for at least another 48 hours. Thank you, NBA. Kevin Durant apparently has went back to the drawing board with the Brooklyn Nets and has told the owner Joe Tsai that he would like Joe to choose between himself or the pairing of Steve Nash and Sean Marks. Nash being the head coach, Marks being the general manager. I get it, man. I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. I get it. But the problem is you welcomed, and when I say you, I mean KD. You welcomed Steve Nash. That's your guy. And when I say your guy, I mean if you wanted him gone, he would have been gone. If you wanted him not to be a part of the thing, he would have never been a part of it. Do I think he should have been fired halfway through the season last year? Maybe. But I don't think you can blame the coach for what took place based on the obvious nature of the situation. However, was he the guy for the job? I think it was very clear that he wasn't. But then again, he wasn't the guy for the job with a roster that wasn't good enough to win. So who was the guy for the job for that roster? I don't think there was a guy for the job. I am on the other end of the spectrum as it pertains to the Brooklyn Nets. As soon as I saw what it was that they were going to be running out there at the end of last season without Ben Simmons, I understood that they just did not have a chance. So whoever gets the blame for that, it's just a scapegoat. Now, my thing with Sean Marks, here's the deal, man. I'm stuck on one single move that I hate, but there are other moves that he's made that have also sucked as well. But the one that I can't stand the most is the one where he traded just maybe a month and a half ago, which by standards of this market is fair value now that we know what the price tag on everything is, but trading for Royce O'Neal and giving up a first round pick for next year's draft, which is obviously the Victor Wembanyama draft. Given the fact that they have all the issues that they have with their roster, the last thing you want to give away is your pick for that draft. Because you could be a bad team next year. You could be a great team next year, but the chances of you being a bad team next year aren't that bad. So the fact that you would give that pick away and value it so small as to give it away for a player who I think has not developed properly in Utah. Just hasn't. That's been the story with him. I'm waiting for him to take off, and he hasn't. And so for me, it's like, all right, man. Sean Marks, that move alone has me upset. But I understand that you made that move under duress. Because this whole KD, Kyrie situation, Ben Simmons, all of this probably has people tired, probably has people pinching numbers, probably has people trying to figure out how best to just get anything going. But my thing is, if you're evaluating talent, you just simply don't make that particular move. You probably don't make the Patty Mills move either, and it's so on and so forth. How much does that have to do with the GM? How much does that have to do with the owner being in favor of some of these moves? I don't have any way of knowing. So that's why I always give him a pass, because I just feel like he's dealing with too much and has been dealing with too much for too long. And on top of that, he hasn't really been given the greatest war chest to work with based on the moves that were made prior to him even arriving in Brooklyn. So it's more of him trying to play cleanup and create this super team on demand. And it's kind of like this is what you have to do in order to make this particular super team come together. You have to give away this pick, that pick, this pick, that pick. And then it gets to a point where it's like, all right, well, how do I make them win? How do I get them the pieces they need to win? It's like, all right, well, you need wings. So I guess in his mind, it's like, all right, well, let's go after Royce O'Neal because he can play some defense and he'll complement KD well, and he's basically the piece we're looking for. So it's that price tag that ultimately makes it a problem. But when you're doing business with the Utah Jazz in 2022, you understand that that's exactly what it's going to cost you to get any piece from them. And so it's like, all right, well, I guess that's what he thought was the right basketball move, and unfortunately, that's the problem. When you rely on people's decision making, it becomes a situation where you look at them and say, okay, this move doesn't look good on paper. We don't expect it to even look good on the floor. So why did we do this move? Is what you end up saying to yourself. And that's what I think a guy like KD is looking at on top of everything else he's looking at. He's like, all right, so let's just say we are retooling. Let's just say we're running it back and we're going to get this thing done. This is an important year for me. Do we have enough to win? And as I always say with the Brooklyn Nets, the answer doesn't appear to be yes. Doesn't appear to be yes to me. I know people love TJ Warren, the bubble. When was the last time you seen TJ Warren? Was it not in the bubble? That's how long it's been. I think TJ Warren, particularly, his value is inflated to beyond understanding simply because they're trying to inflate the overall surrounding pieces of a Brooklyn Nets team that they're trying to sell to the public is very, very good. And that's what it is. It's like they have to sell this team as very good as opposed to it actually being very good. And that is when you look at Sean Marks. Because it's like, okay, these are your pieces that you're putting together and they just aren't good enough. And so if KD is looking at him saying, I need him gone and I need him gone, I think those are the reasons why. Because he's looking at Joe Tsai and saying, the reason why our team isn't good enough is because we have the wrong coach and you have the wrong general manager trying to make these deals happen. I would have already been gone in trade if you would have had a better GM in place. I think that's what KD's telling him. It's like, look, you need to rebuild. But if you're going to keep a player like me, and this is his opinion, it seems, you got to get better people in place to manage my contract and my basketball style. That's what he's saying to Joe Tsai. And if I'm Joe Tsai, I'm firing both of those people today. I'm firing both of them. Because this is Operation Repair the relationship with KD. I'm firing Sean Marks and Steve Nash. They both gone. What else do we need, KD? What else can we do? That's how I'm moving. The one thing I can't do for you, though, is, of course, the Kyrie situation. He doesn't want to do the Kyrie thing. But all this other stuff that's going to keep you in place, keeping it from me having to trade you for pennies on a dollar, yeah, I'm going to get rid of all that stuff. Here's why. Because Steve Nash ain't the guy anyway. You know that. You should have fired him anyway. He's gone anyway. Everybody knows that. That's the first reason. And the second thing is, with Sean Marks, it's like, all right, if I have to choose between Sean Marks or Kevin Durant, and Sean Marks is a guy I have in place to trade Kevin Durant, and we can't trade Kevin Durant. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm stuck with Kevin Durant, and his demand is that guy go. So am I supposed to keep that guy over Kevin Durant? When I got Kevin Durant on a 4-year contract and Kevin Durant moving very, very much disrupts everything, like literally everything. Yeah, no, I'm gonna get rid of Sean Marks. I'm gonna do that. You know what? And it just comes down to what's an easier headache for me to deal with. My GM being replaced right now, which in a market where nothing's going on, you can replace your GM. Nobody's moving. Or trying to move that piece and having him be insubordinate and have everything that's going to tumble because of it. Not just for you, but for the entire league. And I'm just going to tell it like this. It's not like Sean Marks is doing an amazing job. He's not. You don't trade Royce O'Neal for one first-round pick. You don't do that. So if I'm evaluating who's better, who's been doing a better job, if I'm just weighing the two, I'm going to go with Kevin Durant, who's still at the top of his game at what it is that he does, which is scoring. And so if those are the contingencies that are keeping him in place, you have to make those moves. Because otherwise, you're going to have to try to trade this dude. And like I said, you're not getting nothing that you want for him. And you know why? Because your GM ain't a shark like that. Because you'd probably be better if you had Masai Ujiri in place. Or, dare I say, Danny Ainge. I mean, like, listen, if Danny Ainge was the GM of the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant would already be gone. He'd be gone. If Morey was the GM of the Brooklyn Nets, he'd be gone. Hell, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. and this is going to shock the hell out of people, but I really believe this. If Rob Pelinka was the GM of the Nets, KD be gone. Be gone. And that's what I think KD is trying to express in a roundabout way. Because at the end of the day, the owners can only do what they're advised to do. Obviously they're going to do what it is they want to do, but they're going to be advised. And those advisors are going to be the determining factor of whether or not your team is going to have a good trajectory over the next 4 years. That's really what it comes down to. Now, I would weigh that against this point, and I would tell KD this. Did you not take Sean Marks by the horns, so to speak, or by, the jewels and say, hey, I want this piece and this piece? Aren't those pieces not the majority of the cap? So you did squeeze him into a position where he has to get role players. And this is the thing, man. I'm going to tell the truth. I don't know if anybody sees it this way, but some GMs are really good at some things and not good at other things. Maybe Sean Marks is really good at certain things. Maybe he's really good at putting together the big stars. But picking and choosing role players, maybe that's not his bag. This is one of those situations where I'm like, you need really, really good scouts in place so that they can grab the Trevelyan Queens of the world and put them in that position that you gave that first round pick away for Royce O'Neal. And if anybody's wondering who Trevelyan Queen is, he's a guy that won the MVP of the G League, if I'm not mistaken. He's somebody who can play that position probably as well as Royce O'Neal's going to play it. And at a much lesser value. You ain't wasting no first round pick on a role player who can play that position. Royce O'Neal's a guy who can be replaced because he has skill sets that you can find in other players right now. So rather than giving away a first round pick for him, you just get a lesser version of him and move it on in. And see, those are the type of moves that a great GM is going to have to make when you have KD and Kyrie Irving on max contracts. You got to be able to get value pieces that can overplay their value, not giving away valuable pieces that are going to underplay their value. And that's exactly what you expect Royce O'Neal to do, just off the sheer fact that he was traded in a market that is never going to be duplicated again. Never. You're never going to see anything inflated like this. And if you do, you will see a cap that matches it. You'll see guys getting $350 million contracts if a Royce O'Neal goes for one pick. This is a market that has not yet made a balance within itself. It hasn't corrected yet. So therefore, just off of that sheer nature, unless he doesn't overachieve, that was a bad trade. Simple as that. And so because KD's watching all of this, he's like, well, I got to go back and do what for the next 4 years? You know what I mean? Go back and wait for him to make good decisions? No, he's not going to. These are the things that I've been talking about for the last, 3 months in regards to the Brooklyn Nets? This is the problem. And I haven't been saying fire Sean Marks for whatever reason. It just hasn't crossed my mind. I think it's because it's such turbulent times that I don't think that you necessarily would want to move your GM. But as I said, which is the lesser headache? That's what it's about. Moving the GM or moving this franchise piece that's disgruntled otherwise if you move, for otherwise if you move the GM. And the head coach, that you can move the head coach. No disrespect to Steve Nash, but that's not going to be a difficult decision there. And if it is a difficult decision, then it just further reinforces why Kevin Durant is making the right decision in making this demand. This is something that should have already been done, honestly. And the Sean Marks thing, that's not as easy. I'm not going to lie. But the head coach thing, yeah, man. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Go be an assistant coach like everybody else. Learn the ropes. Come back and do it again. Pay your dues like everybody else. That's how it has to be done, man. You know why I have so much confidence in the Lakers hiring Darvin Ham? Because he's been doing the assistant coach thing for years. He's won championship now as an assistant coach. He even was an assistant coach here. It's a rookie coach, but he's not green. You know what I'm saying? So it's decision making. It's about the decision making of the Brooklyn Nets and the decision making of the players that they hire to play. all encompassing. All of this is a choice made by this Brooklyn Nets. And so, yeah, should there be some changes made there? If people are looking at things clearly, I think so. I think so. I think he could use a fresh start. I think Sean Marks could go to a place where they have all that they need, including a good set of scouts that can tell him, nope, not that, this. And he'll just do it like everybody else who's being advised properly. And then he'll be in a proper situation where he doesn't have insubordinate players. The New York market's not beaming down on him, waiting for him to make another mistake. And he can just be himself. I think all GMs need that. I watched Mitch Kupchak leave the Lakers and go to Charlotte. He's been doing good ever since. And any mistake that he may have made in Charlotte, you didn't notice. You didn't pay attention because he's in Charlotte. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, a change of scenery for all parties involved. And when I say all parties involved, all of them. Everybody should be leaving Brooklyn right now. I don't know who it was that said it, but I believe it was Big Perk. I don't know who it was. I'm not certain. So just scratch that part. But bottom line is this, in my opinion. The best thing for the Brooklyn Nets to do is just break the thing down. Tear it all down, man. Like Utah Jazz are doing. You get yourself a plunder of everything and you start over. If the Utah Jazz can do it with their market, you can definitely do it with the Brooklyn market. Come on. Start over. Get all the picks you can in the world. And just live with the result of what you've done, which is trading away a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal. Reevaluate what you're doing in regards to picks. Change your entire tune in regards to picks. And literally only take picks for Kevin Durant. Forget all this young player nonsense. Draft your own. It's cheaper that way. That's the key to it. You get more picks. And for God's sakes, it's already too late. But try to get in next year's draft. You don't trade out of next year's draft. You do everything you can to get into next year's draft. And that is why Danny Ainge is doing such a fantastic job in Utah, because he's fleecing everybody who doesn't necessarily understand that aspect of the game and is willing to pay inflated prices from this market. So, all in all, I'm excited about this because KD is forcing people to make moves that are going to force things to making sense and force things into happening. So I'm excited about what KD's forcing to happen in Brooklyn. Maybe they will fire their coach, maybe they will fire their GM, but something tells me they're not going to do that. Something tells me they're instead just going to try their best to trade KD, fail to, because that's what's going to happen there. And then it's going to be a problem. The worst of the two headaches, in my opinion. Because it seems like the Brooklyn Nets don't know how to get out of their own way. They don't. Everybody looks at the players. Oh, you did this wrong. You should have taken the jab. Oh, James Harden. You got to trade him. Trade him to Philly for Ben Simmons. I was screaming it too. It wasn't a good decision because Ben Simmons was hurt and nobody knew that. They should have known it, though. And they shouldn't have pulled the trigger on that deal. Sorry, James Harden, you're stuck here for at least another year. Why? Because I'm not trading you for a broken player. They would have had a lot better chance of getting a better plunder at this point. In my opinion, if James Harden was on the team, not to mention that Ben Simmons' presence keeps them from being able to make a move that would otherwise bring back a contract like Ben Simmons, which is literally half the teams in this circumstance that they would want to use as a trade partner. So looking at this situation, it's just one more glance at why Kevin Durant would otherwise want to move on from Sean Marks particularly. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And now the Nets have to follow through with the Ben Simmons move and surround Ben Simmons, in my opinion, with pieces that make sense for him, since obviously it's easier to do so, given the fact that he's literally a piece that, requires that you do certain things with him, and he's younger in this case. And you've given away far too much, in my opinion, to let him go in a situation where Kevin Durant may not be happy with the changes you make. And see, this is the problem. I think Ben Simmons is more likely to be pleased with whatever happens next than Kevin Durant is, even if you do what Kevin Durant says. I'm just going to be honest with you. And that's I don't know how much you value that based on the difference between the talent level of these players, but when you weigh their age, that is something to think about. I don't know that if I do what he says, I don't still trade him. To be honest with you, especially if I'm bringing the type of GM that I'm intending on bringing in if I'm Joe Tsai. Because I'm telling you right now, Sean Marks he's been working hard, but I think it's just not the best moves for the team. They have to be more aggressive right now. He's running a hard bargain, but again, bad precedent with the O'Neal trade. So you need somebody who, like I said, Masai Ujiri or somebody like that. You need somebody like that, man. Yeah, a shark. Somebody who's gonna come in and tell Danny Ainge, look here. Not only I'm not paying that price, but you're gonna throw a pick on there dealing with us. But we're gonna sit here for 3 years if that's what it takes. That's the type of guy you need. You know? So it's like what can I say, Brooklyn? Pick the easier headache. Pick the easier headache, in my opinion. Fire them 2 dudes and keep Kevin Durant. Smarter move. Make life a lot easier for yourself, because you should be firing them dudes anyway. No disrespect to them, just tell them the truth. They should be gone anyway. Keep Kevin Durant and makes your life a lot easier. You prepare with the next season, which he's going to be leewaying. He's going to gift you this, and this is what Kevin Durant needs to understand. Ain't no way they about to replace the GM and the coach, and you about to win a championship with this team this year. Likely not next year either. So you do understand when you tell a team to make these type of moves, these ain't short-term moves that are going to get you over the top, especially in a market like this. It's unrealistic. I think they're the right moves, but you better believe that you're investing for the entire 4 years, not just to see if they can get it right away so you can demand they get rid of the next 2 guys. Nah, Kevin, if that's your plan, it's going to fail. So I'm going to let you know right now, flexibility is key for this team, and unless they trade you to get it, they won't have it. Straight up. Because Kyrie ain't going to give them that, and neither is Ben. It's you. So, you better know that. GM and coach, that ain't going to solve your problem. Flexibility, the acquisition of cap space and draft picks is going to solve their problem. And if they're wise, they're going to do everything they can to get there. Right now. So that's what I got to say. That is it. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.